stronger tomorrow. Let's start to make a difference, teaching everyone to learn. Through science, health, and technology, we will share our expertise. By promoting knowledge and policies, we can build a better world. Let us take a step for our visions alone, making future works for the people to grow in a life filled with happiness and green. Here at SEAMEO, building the future is our legacy. We'll achieve our goals through partnership, creating opportunities. By working hand in hand, we can accomplish all our dreams. For a better quality of life is now within our reach. Let us take a step for our visions of hope, making future plans for the people to grow in a life filled with happiness and green. Here at SEAMEO, building the future is our legacy. Let us take a step for our visions of hope, making future plans for the people to grow in a life filled with happiness and green. Here at SEAMEO, building the future is our legacy. Building the future is our legacy. At SEAMEO,
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Ensuring Continuity of Learning in ECCD, a webinar on inclusive early childhood care and development. I am your host for this event, Genesis from SEAMEO INNOTECH, and we are very happy to see our 248 participants here in Zoom, and we are also saying hi to our viewers on Facebook and YouTube. This webinar is part of SEAMEO INNOTECH's online knowledge events on specific key education issues in Southeast Asia. In partnership with SEAMEO Regional Center for Early Childhood Care, Education, and Parenting, SEAMEO CISEP in Indonesia, and the ECCD Council of the Philippines. Today's event advocates for the importance of early childhood care and development and opens a space for teachers, parents, and caregivers to learn together as they ensure the continuity of learning for our young learners. For the first half of our webinar, we will hear from 3 speakers the significance of providing an inclusive, joyful, and meaningful learning experience for our early grade learners. In the latter half of this webinar, we will conduct simultaneous sessions, breakout rooms for our Zoom participants, and videos to our live viewers to share good practices, challenges, and experiences revolving around the question, how can we ensure an inclusive, joyful, and meaningful learning experience for our young learners? We hope you're excited because we expect that this will be a fruitful and meaningful experience for us all. We look forward to your active participation throughout this whole webinar. To formally begin the program, we invite the Center Director of SEAMEO INNOTECH, Dr. Ramon C. Bacani, to deliver the welcome remarks.
Thank you, Genesis, and good afternoon to everyone. uh, and welcome to this webinar on the inclusive early childhood care and development on the theme ensuring continuity of learning in ECCD. But first, let me acknowledge some of our important participants. First, well, I see on the screen an old friend, Dr. Vuti, the Deputy Director for Programs from SEAMEO INNOTECH. Nice to see you again,
See you,
Dr.
sir.
Vuti. And I don't know whether the director, Dr. Elis Rosjawati, is with us, but I hope that she will be able to catch up. Also, I saw earlier, again, good and old friend, Dr. Teresita Insyong, the Vice Chairperson and Executive Director of the ECCD Council Philippines. We are also expecting Mr. Muhammad Asbi, the Director of Early Childhood Education of the Indonesian Ministry of Education, Culture, Research, and Technology. I hope that he will be able to join us in a little while.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm here with you.
Let me also welcome Genesis mentioned the 248 participants in Zoom, and those watching via Facebook and YouTube Live, who we expect to be in the thousands. So let me just say that, I think we're dealing with a very important topic in our webinar, the early childhood care and development. It is recognized that a child's formative years, which is usually ages 0 to 8, these are considered to be a very important period in a person's growth and development. These years are considered crucial to a person's physical, cognitive, emotional, and social development. These are an important window of opportunity for education, which is considered as a fundamental right as embodied in the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. And I believe all the SEAMEO member countries are signatories to the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. The convention recognizes the importance of early childhood development to improve the well-being of children worldwide.
Which I'll be presenting.
Specifically, UNICEF, one of the specialized agencies of the United Nations, has identified 3 areas of vital concern, indicative of the quality of ECCD. And these are the quality of care, access to early childhood care and education, and the overall development status of the children. Also, on a global scale, we know that the Sustainable Development Goals, specifically SDG 4, it also reflects the importance of early childhood care and education, as it includes the goal of providing all children with access to quality early childhood development care and pre-primary education by the year 2030. Well, on the regional level, especially Southeast Asia, we also remember that the SEAMEO Council of Ministers sometime in 2014 in Vientiane, they identified 7 priority areas, and one of these priority areas is achieving universal pre-primary education. Particularly, this priority area targets the disadvantaged and marginalized learners, such as poor children, rural communities, indigenous communities, and children with disabilities and special needs. And we know that the issue of achieving inclusivity in education, particularly in early childhood care and development, or ECCD, is quite a complex challenge. It requires addressing various issues surrounding and affecting access to and quality of ECCD programs. And addressing these challenges needs cooperation of various stakeholders, from government, non-government organizations, the private sector down to the families and the communities. So in 2016, SEAMEO INNOTECH, as part of its research program, conducted a study to document and analyze the patterns of marginalization of children in ECCD programs. The barriers to ECCD programs identified in this study have been further heightened by the disruption in education brought about by the global pandemic, which we continue to face. And the results of this study will be presented as part of this webinar. We recognize that along with the health risks, the pandemic also threatened children's opportunity to grow and learn with their peers. This also puts great pressure on teachers who need to continuously provide early learning programs amid the imposed distance learning situation. Likewise, this puts a lot of pressure on families and parents since they take on a bigger role in their child's learning. And so this afternoon is actually part of SEAMEO INNOTECH's commitment to facilitate access and exchange of knowledge, information, and innovative practices among education stakeholders in Southeast Asia. We conduct online learning events and dissemination activities such as today's activity. And in every learning event, we focus on a specific education concern. This time, we want to focus on early childhood care, education, and development. This webinar will emphasize the importance of ECCD and hopefully will provide the space for teachers and parents to learn and work together for the continuous learning of young children. For this webinar, we have also tapped the expertise of our partners, the SEAMEO Regional Center for Early Childhood Care, Education and Parenting, SEAMEO CHECHEP, and the ECCD Council of the Philippines to help us provide meaningful and insightful sessions in this webinar. We do hope that this learning event will be a platform for sharing experiences and good practices. So let us learn from each other as we help provide a better future for our young learners for the Southeast Asian region. Thank you very much and good afternoon once again.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bacani. Whenever I hear the word inclusive, I always think about what kind. But as with Dr. Bacani said, inclusive also asks the question, what context? So inclusive ECCD includes children from disadvantaged and marginalized groups. And I really want to keep that lesson from the heart, in the heart for a very long time. But now this time, let's hear a message from our partner institution, the Early Childhood Education of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research, and Technology of Indonesia. We have with us Director Muhammad Hasbi.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. The Honorable Dr. Ramon C. Basani, Director of SEAMEO INNOTECH, Dr. Ellis, Director of SEAMEO CSEP, along with Dr. Putih, Deputy Director of Program SEAMEO CSEP, Dr. Teresita Insiong, Executive Director ECCD Council of the Philippines, distinguished speakers, moderators, participants, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to give a remark in this webinar on ensuring continuity of learning in ECCD amidst a varying context and the pandemic as well. Representing Secretary General of Ministry of Education, Culture, Research, and Technology, Republic of Indonesia, allow me to take this opportunity to congratulate all of you for participating in this very important webinar on inclusive early childhood care and development. Ladies and gentlemen, early childhood has been coined as the most pivotal years for development and learning in various studies. The importance of early childhood care, development, and education is recognized by the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, that emphasizes the importance of ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education for all, including enabling access to quality early childhood development, care, and pre-primary education for all girls and boys by the end of 2030. Before the pandemic, it was already a challenge to meet the target in the goals for early childhood development, care, and education. The government, along with various stakeholders and communities, have various policies, projects, and efforts to increase participation, while at the same time enhancing the quality of ECCDE. In Indonesia, we have ongoing policies such as implementation of minimum service standards, holistic integrative early childhood development program, implementation of inclusive ECE program, and the program alignment for ECE and primary school as part of early children's school readiness to ensure that we can meet the SDGs goal by the end of 2030. However, as pandemic hit, we need more strategies to ensure quality education for early children who were forced to stay at home amid ECE centers' temporary closure. Distance learning needs more creativity from teachers and also great amount participation from parents and families. Teachers had to learn using technology to facilitate distance learning and work together with parents to simplify the curriculum. Parents learn how to facilitate children play and report the progress of children learning to be followed by teacher. However, the pandemic situation has not been dampened by the spirit of the teacher. Together, teachers learn to make innovation and breakthrough so that even children in remote areas are not left behind in learning and development. Ladies and gentlemen, the importance of working together for ECCDE, inclusivity, and equity escalate in the era of pandemic because neither government, teacher, parents, and various ECCDE stakeholders can work alone to maintain quality education for early years children during pandemic. Certain measures need to be taken to ensure that teachers and families have the sufficient understanding of skill to carry on with the quality learning experience for children. In Indonesia, the government established the policy of independent learning that has become a national movement ever since its release. The Merdeka curriculum or independent curriculum, we started as an effort to help teachers and students during the pandemic, has proven to be able to reduce the impact of lost learning. Now, the Merdeka curriculum has entered its third year and has been implemented in more than 2,000 PAUD, we call PAUD for ECE units, throughout Indonesia.
Hello. Good afternoon again, everyone. Unfortunately, I think we lost Director Hasby in that moment. But thank you so much, Director Muhammad Hasby, for that message. You really hit the nail in the head. Inclusive ECCD has always been complex, even before the pandemic and after the pandemic struck. The barriers preventing us from creating an inclusive ECCD has worsened. Speaking of before the pandemic, SEAMEO INNOTECH already started conducting a study on the status of ECCD programs in Southeast Asia. The study identified the common barriers to inclusive ECCD and recommends improvements to the access and quality of early childhood education. To give us an overview of this study and to set the context of this webinar, we have Dr. Sherlyn Almonte Acosta, Senior Specialist of the Educational Research Unit of SEAMEO INNOTECH, to deliver the keynote presentation on achieving inclusive early childhood care and development in Southeast Asia. Doc She, You now have the virtual floor.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Let me share my presentation deck first before I proceed. Okay, can I have it? Is it showing already? Is it showing? Okay. All right.
Yes, Dr.
So,
She. Yes. But please present it in full screen po if you can.
I'm sorry.
It's we are seeing the whole PowerPoint application. Can you present it in full screen?
I did. How about that?
Not yet. Ma'am.
Slideshow, please.
It's the same.
Yes, ma'am. It's not yet on full
Um,
screen.
I don't know why.
Can you try sharing your screen again po, Doc Shet?
Okay. So, unshare first. All right. What's happening here? Okay. How about that?
I don't think anything changed. From your end po ba? What can you see?
What's wrong?
Yep. Can we proceed na lang?
All right. So maybe
I think Doc She, I think Raxo will share on your behalf po.
okay. That's great. So
There we go.
all right. Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Elise Ros Diawati, Acting Director of SEAMEO INNOTECH, Dr. Vuti It, Deputy Director for Program SEAMEO CSEP, Ministry of Education and Culture, Indonesia. Mr. Muhammad Hasbi, Director of Early Childhood Education, Ministry of Education, Culture, Research, Technology, Indonesia. Dr. Ramon C. Bacani, our Center Director of SEAMEO INNOTECH. Dr. Teresita Inchong, Vice Chairperson and Executive Director of the ECCD Council. To our officials, different officials and colleagues from SEAMEO CSEP, ECCD Council Philippines, representative from university partner university, Dr. Ir Dwi Hastuti, to one of the winners of the 2021 Southeast Asian Educational Innovation Award, Dr. Joanna Romano, to SEAMEO INNOTECH colleagues, and to all the participants here at Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube. Good afternoon. It is my honor to present to you our research or the finding of the study entitled Regional Research on Achieving Inclusive Early Childhood Care and Development in Southeast Asia. This study was conducted by the Educational Research Unit of the Educational Research and Innovation Office of SEAMEO INNOTECH. All right, so let me walk you through to the outline of the presentation. Can you change this? All right, as far as the outline is concerned, so I'll be sharing with you the objectives of the study. Then along with that, I'll share or highlight the importance of ECCD as presented in the different studies about the ECCD or the importance of ECCD. Then also I'll be sharing the theoretical framework of the studies. After that, I'll show as well I'll share the context of marginalization of early childhood in Southeast Asia. Then after that, we'll be sharing the findings and policy options that are actually aligned with the UNESCO Inclusive Education Triangle. And these are entitlements and opportunities, accessibility and affordability. And the last element of the triangle is learning delivery and learning environment. Next slide, please. All right, so This one is the objective of the study. So it provides our study provides a comprehensive analysis of the state of ECCD for marginalized children. Specifically, it examined the context and patterns of marginalization of children from it should be 0 to 8 years old, sorry about it. Then policies that form the legal framework supporting the provision of ECCD for marginalized children. Then I'll be sharing as well, the study also looked into the ECCD programs and intervention, as well as the innovation and good practices being implemented for children from marginalized groups. Also, the study was able to identify factors that help or hinder the development and education of young children from the disadvantaged social background. Now, we actually started, or rather, we invited 11 member states in this study. Only 8 out of 11 gave their representative representative to conduct an in-country studies. And these are from Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, PDR, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, and Timor-Leste. The most another significant thing about this study is it also addresses the concern, or rather one of the priority areas of SEAMEO INNOTECH, and this is on inclusive education, and it is also aligned in with the SDG 4. Next slide, please. All right. So this one is the theoretical framework of the study. So the theoretical framework is the combination of the UNESCO's inclusive education triangle. And this one, the inclusive education triangle consists of the learning environment and learning delivery, accessibility and affordability, and entitlement, as well as opportunity for children. Now, as I've said, it's a combination of two theories aside from the UNESCO's internal, or rather inclusive education dimensions or elements. It also consists of the social theory of Bronfenbrenner. So the core of the study is the children aged 0 to 8 from marginalized group. And then this is actually the so-called microsystem. And then the microsystem consists of the interaction of children, immediate family members, and when the immediate family member interact with the ECCD program available, this means the teachers, the health workers, the different professionals involved in the ECCD program, the child is actually exposed to the so-called mesosystem, and afterwards the bigger system, which is the macro system, and this entails, or rather this involves the different policies, the political context, the legal context, the cultural values, along with the ECCD programs. And so all these systems interact and influence the learning and development outcomes to the children from the marginalized group. Now, the research team actually selected this study because, or rather, it selected the framework for the study because it recognized the fact that the growth of a child is actually a conglomeration or influenced by different factors, different things in the surrounding at different levels. Next slide, please. All right. So to highlight some of the important study of ECCD, we have one coming from UNICEF in 2019. Investing in early childhood year has been demonstrated to reduce achievement gaps caused by poverty and other social factors, which give vulnerable children a fairer chance as their peers. And it builds skills for employment, contributing to and strengthening national economies. Also, a longitudinal study conducted by Heckman, and it was found out that the access to early childhood intervention has also been associated with higher earnings, labor force productivity, stronger social attachment. Then with the UNESCO 2006 having quality ECCD program, offers opportunity to create level playing field for all children, regardless of their status and background. Next slide, please. All right, this one I would like to share with you the context of marginalization in early childhood in Southeast Asia. As you can see in the bar graph, we have Malaysia of 97% participation, 96% for the Philippines, and 95% for Vietnam. So it varies, no? The participation of in early childhood participation from different countries actually vary. While it's very high in the three countries that I mentioned, only 10% of that is the equivalent in the context of Myanmar. So these are concrete example how varied participation in ECCD in Southeast Asia. Now, with that, the study identified the pattern of marginalization. The common pattern of marginalization in Southeast Asia is the poverty. So you can see here, poverty and geographic remoteness. So children from poor families and community are put into disadvantaged position compared to those with higher standards of living. So these are actually found more on rural area than in the city or urban area. So either of these factors or combination make it difficult for children to access provision for good nutrition, health, water, sanitation, and early learning. Okay, aside from this common to patterns of marginalization, we also have membership in an ethnic or indigenous group. This may also contribute to marginalization of children. Since minority of population often reside in remote areas, ethnicity interacts with poverty and geography, and therefore making access to basic services challenging. Aside from this factor, linguistic, cultural differences within majority of population results in discrimination. Another thing is children with special needs and disability also oftentimes experience more of exclusion. So children with disabilities in some cultural communities are perceived to have been born as a result of bad luck and are treated as burdens. So we're in this 21st century, and yet the thinking about disability remains that this is a result of bad luck and treated as burdens. Thus, they may be discriminated against even in their own families and communities. There's also lack of specialized facilities and programs that may address the educational, nutritional, health, mobility needs of these children, and thus this contribute and further contribute to the developmental gaps. Now, another pattern of marginalization is the susceptibility to disaster. So here we have here in the lower portion, the susceptibility to the disaster likewise make it difficult for children to sustainably participate in early learning activities to receive health and nutrition services. ECCD programs and these are often disrupted by long periods, for example, or aftermath of earthquake and typhoons. So displacement of families due to this disaster contribute to poor family sanitary conditions, which increase children's chances of contracting diseases and to a certain extent child mortality. So just to remind you that this study was conducted prior to COVID, but again, this COVID-19 pandemic can be a form of disaster if we're going to qualify it in the study. Now, another thing is on internal conflict. So the safety of children is at risk when there is internal conflict. And by internal conflict, we mean the cultural, religious, and political conflict. Even while families are forced to flee, the road to refuge is also often dangerous, with entire families having crossed borders and seas with their young children. So in extreme circumstances, children are recruited as soldiers who then actively participate in wars. And for other, they experience sexual violence, injury, trauma, and even death. So further, another pattern of marginalization is the so-called statelessness. This is actually caused by other factors previously mentioned, such as ethnicity or conflict existing among children in Southeast Asian countries. So in some country, stateless children do not have legal privilege. So that means they cannot access formal education, they cannot access services pertinent to health, and this exacerbate vulnerability or the state of vulnerability of children because they are denied with opportunities for survival and even social mobility. So we found out also in documents, given the different documents in the study, that marginalization or marginalized is rarely used in the document. What was used actually is more of the term vulnerable to a lesser extent or disadvantage. Based on interview, it was postulated that there might be discomfort in few countries to use the term marginalization because it implies minority groups are being looked down on, undervalued by society, or being denied opportunity to access education program. However, not all people from marginalized and or vulnerable sector may be aware of the importance of early childhood education. So that's the sad part of it. They're part of the so-called marginalized group, and what even aggravate that context is their not, I mean, non awareness of the so-called importance, or rather the importance of the early childhood education. So whatever the definition, marginalization is often linked to exclusion, whether deliberate or not, which puts children at a disadvantage. Okay, next slide, please. So this one is, there's some overlapping of this pattern of marginalization in different countries. So that means that a person can be poor and at the same time exposed to conflict, no? So meaning this form or patterns of marginalization overlap. And so the more that the children are denied with the opportunity or access to education and health services. With that, we have, I'll be sharing with you the findings and policy options. As I mentioned, the findings of the studies, actually, the way I'll present it is arranged based on the framework, the theoretical framework that I showed earlier. And this is more on the inclusive triangle as given by UNESCO. The first is the entitlement and opportunities. So this one, we recommend to enforce national laws and policies requiring attendance in at least 1 year of pre-primary education. This is in support of achieving universal early childhood care and development. Among the 8 SEAMEO member states involved in the study, only the Philippines education system implements at least 1 year mandatory of pre-primary education. I think the Filipinos should continue giving this and providing. Of course, it's part of the law. And I think something that we can be proud of, no, among the Southeast Asian countries involved in the study, only the Philippines has the so-called mandatory pre-primary education. So while it is commendable also that these countries involved in the studies recognize the importance of early childhood care and development as reflected in the provisions protecting the children's rights to education and health under the respective constitutions and law. So there are different programs available in the different countries to address the needs of some of the marginalized children, but then there's still a need to enforce national laws and policies requiring attendance in at least 1 year of pre-primary education. Next slide, please. So under entitlement and opportunities, promote integrated and coordinate efforts across sector by creating national laws and policies, institutionalizing a central government agency responsible for operation, regularization, monitoring, and evaluation of ECCD programs in the country. The context here is the ECCD program in different countries are actually offered by, let's say, the Ministry of Education, and then there are all Ministry of Health, Social Welfare. So it's highly recommended that there's a central or lead agency indeed in charge of the operation, regulation, monitoring, and evaluation of ECCD program. And with that, in line with that, it would be good to promote a holistic and comprehensive early childhood program for young children in which crucial services that includes, of course, education, nutrition, health, protection. It should be integrated in the same manner that when it is offered by the ECCD program offered by different agency in a country, it would also be good that these different programs are also integrated. So under the proposed central government agency, a common curriculum for early childhood program in the country can be implemented to facilitate access to the same program for all young children. So while implementing common curriculum, there should also be flexibility to consider the background, the context, the kind of marginalization being experienced by the children. So in other words, though it is really possible to come up with one curriculum for all in one country for early childhood program, it is also important that the patterns of marginalization, context of children should be taken into consideration in the developed curriculum. Next slide, please. Interesting enough, it is the challenge remain in terms of entitlement. Again, the challenge is how to make sure that all children, especially the most vulnerable, enjoy the entitlements and opportunity meant for them. So that's for entitlement. And when it comes to accessibility, and affordability, the study was able to identify some factors that help or hinder the development and education of children. And these are as follows: the multidimensional poverty, level of access and funding to ECCD, cultural attitudes and policies and stereotypes, quality of teaching, training, and services, coordination of different government ministries and sectors. So these are actually the different factors that were identified in the study. And using these factors, we have recommendation on accessibility and affordability. So when we say multidimensional poverty, it creates disadvantages in education among young children, particularly deprivation from basic needs. In effect, this may also have a lead to stunted growth of children and further exclusion of marginalized children from participating in ECCD program. Now, the cultural attitude, practices, and stereotype, the belief that having children with disability of special needs is a curse and still thrive in some communities in Southeast Asia, leading families to hide such children from society. So they're embarrassed to have special children or special child in the family. So the tendency is not for the child to be exposed to anybody, and of course to services in education. And so children from ethnic and indigenous background also experience discrimination. Without the support of parents, attendance of children, ECCD program will simply not be possible. Okay. In line with this, we also have recommendation on how to really reach out to parents. It's very important that we foster awareness among the parents, especially those in rural area, on how important the early childhood care and development program. Then another factor is the level of access and funding. So the existence and sustainability of this program depends highly on budget and resources allocated by the national local government. Therefore, it is important that they recognize the benefit of ECCD program to children and society so that an ample or enough fund can be allocated for the ECCD program. Of course, there are other things that can be done, and this is through private-public partnership. Again, we have another, recommendation later, particularly on the public-private partnership, so that access to ECCD can be widened. Now, quality teacher and training services, another factors that hinder, because teachers they do not have enough training, and they should be equipped, of course, with proper knowledge and skills in delivering the right pedagogy for the children. And countries involved in the study seek to ensure quality instruction and facilitation in ECCD program by implementing qualifications for teachers. Then the last one is coordination of different government ministries and sector, considering that achieving inclusive ECCD entails holistic and integrated approach, addressing various needs, coordination, cooperation of different government ministries and sectors is deemed necessary. So this is also aligned with the fact that in different countries, the ECCD program is handled by different ministries, or at least there are also overlap in terms of program offering. All right, next slide, please. So given the context and given the different factors identified in the study, it would be important to address the root causes of socioeconomic inequality and poverty that create structural barriers to inclusive ECCD. So government should mitigate the impacts of such inequalities by targeting disadvantaged families with programs and initiatives that provide opportunity to livelihood, income generation, and improved quality of life. Also, it is important to allot more resources and increase state support to the implementation of ECCD program in marginalized community across different levels of the government. So financial resources can be directed towards building ECCD infrastructure, capacity building of teachers working in marginalized communities, increase state support community-based program by providing more financial and human resources. Now, also provide free affordable ECCD program for families that cannot afford to send their children to such programs. So when government funding is lean, which is the usual, partnership with other stakeholders can be harnessed. So public-private partnership can be promoted to support funding and ensure viability of ECCD program. So one way is by providing vouchers to families. Some countries actually started doing so. They provide vouchers to families who cannot afford the cost of private ECCD. Next slide, please. Again, under accessibility and affordability, establish strong coordination and collaboration among all sectors and stakeholders. For holistic ECCD program, which integrates crucial services, it is imperative to have involvement and cooperation of all relevant stakeholders. Also, increase accessibility of alternative home-based, community-based, and mobile ECCD programs by maximizing the use of mass media. ECCD program can be aired by government-owned TV stations and be incorporated in the daily activities of young children, especially those in remote areas. So in areas where there is limited access or no access to internet services, broadcasting through radio can be another option. So improve roads and transportation to make ECCD centers accessible, especially to children with disability. Next slide, please. Support ECCD program being implemented by non-government organizations by creating legal policies to promote their sustainability. It's instrumental to the success of the community-based management ECCD program. For example, Plan International Indonesia is the support from the country and local government, as well as the existing national policies and laws. So it's very important that everything coheres so that initiatives by NGO can be sustainable. Now, implement the activities promoting active engagement of parents. Okay, so it's very important that we engage parents. Parents should be aware of how important the ECCD programs are for the development of their children. Then reinforce information dissemination by local government and empower officials at the community level. So the role of the government is very important so that enabling or fostering awareness among parents and all the stakeholders on the importance of ECCD can be done easily. All right, next slide, please. So this one is the other angle. So in the inclusive education triangle of UNESCO, we have the learning, delivery, and learning environment. So while the country policy highlights the need to focus on children from marginalized group, not all, however, were able to articulate clearly, specifically, the kind of support to be provided for each for this group. So while there are articulation in other country, some country it was not really clear on how they will address marginalization or how they will address the needs of the different marginalized group. So providing ECCD for marginalized children should also be synonymous with providing safe and social psychological environment for them. So as a recommendation, professionalize ECCD teaching by implementing standards and qualifications such as licensure examination for those teaching at the early childhood level, provide opportunities for career progression based on identified levels. As part of promoting the welfare of teachers, provide with security of tenures and benefits. Increase the number of qualified teachers in marginalized community by providing incentive in monetary form, and other benefits. So it's very important that we have quality teachers at the level of the early childhood programs. Encourage the formation of professional organizations. So to the professional organization, they can have exchange of ideas and information, and they can learn from the novice teachers, or rather they can learn from the expert teachers. So there is the dynamics that would happen with so the slide is moving, with the expert and non-expert teachers. So it's very important to have a professional organization for teachers. Next slide, please. So improve teacher quality by providing trainings on inclusive practices. This could be achieved through pre-service and in-service training on sound child development, theories, concept on disability, pedagogy of children with special needs. The undergraduate curriculum is proposed to include courses and topic on special education, health, nutrition, as well as teaching students with different ethnic and linguistic background. Next slide, please. So strengthening and institutionalizing systematic child monitoring in ECCD program at the classroom level, with a mechanism to observe the well-being of children and their participation in classroom activities. The various barriers to learning and participation can be identified. So systematic monitoring is really necessary so that the teachers can identify how they can address the needs of the children, and then improve the documentation and monitoring of ECCD children in the country. So disaggregate data on children by age in order to have more accurate picture of the status of ECCD children. For monitoring and evaluation, the Philippine Education for All 2015 recommended digitalization and better management of information system. The development and enhancement of database system will be helpful in making more informed and evidence-based policymaking and program planning. Then develop database available early childhood intervention program being implemented by all sectors in the country. This will help in the efficient use of limited resources, preventing duplications of efforts and identifying areas where programs are needed most. Next slide, please. Develop more inclusive infrastructure and learning materials. This includes the installation of ramps and improving building opening for easier mobility. Multisensory materials should also be made available to cater to the different learning styles of children. The learning environment, learning pedagogy, and learning materials should consider the abilities, language, culture, and context of children. Also, provide opportunities for marginalized community to be involved in planning, design, implementation, and monitoring of ECCD programs and services. This will help to ensure program services that are responsive to community needs and context, while also encouraging support and participation by parents and the community. With that recommendations, I would like to end by saying that, next slide, please. Efforts toward achieving inclusive ECCD require an integrated and multi-sectoral approach. This involves protecting the entitlements and opportunity of children, increasing accessibility and affordability, and improving the learning environment and delivery. Thank you very much. And for those who are interested to access our publication, so you can go to our website. Next slide, please, just to show the. This is the full report. This is how it looks like. You can access it, and that's for free. We also have a research brief. You can go to our website and access the details, or rather the full report, the full study. So you can have the details of the different cases of the 8 countries involved in this study. With that, maraming salamat. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. She. And seeing yung pattern of marginalization, I realized how daunting the task of achieving inclusive early childhood care and development truly is. And it requires not only the power of one organization, because no one entity can really solve this problem. We all have to work together, starting from the government, of course, down to the most basic unit of our society, the families, especially the parents, working together to achieve this inclusive ECCD for our young learners. Thank you again, Dr. She, and we hope to see you in the Q&A later. But for now, if you have questions regarding this topic, kindly address them through our chat for our Zoom participants. And for our live viewers, you can comment your questions and we'll go through them later. Well, some of you are still typing in your questions. Let me introduce you to our next session. Inquiry-based teaching and learning, or IBTL, is one teaching learning concept that can be applied both in classroom and in alternative setups. IBTL is a pedagogy that encourages students to learn by exploring, investigating, analyzing, and asking questions. It helps in honing a child's critical and creative thinking skills. You might not be aware of it, but you may already be practicing IBTL. Children 8 years old and below are very curious, and it makes them easily distracted from less interesting activities like learning and listening. So IBTL, it may just be one of the key innovations that can increase their learning outcomes. To learn more about IBTL and how this can be practiced in and out of the classroom, we now have Ms. Lauren Neris Bautista, specialist from our Educational Innovations Unit. Ma'am, now the virtual floor is now yours.
Good afternoon. One of the 7 priority areas under the SEAMEO Joint Education Agenda of Southeast Asian Ministers of Education from 2015 to 2035 is adopting a 21st century curriculum that will be needed to effectively respond to the changing global context, and more particularly to the ever-increasing complexity of the Southeast Asian economic, sociocultural, and political environment. SEAMEO INNOTECH embarked on the study Nurturing Critical and Creative Thinkers through Inquiry-Based Teaching and Learning, or IBTL, in early childhood education to look at examples of how inquiry-based teaching and learning nurture critical and creative thinking skills of children ages 3 to 8 years in selected Southeast Asian learning institutions. The study posits that exposing children as early as ages 3 to 8 to inquiry-based learning gives them avenues to express and nurture their natural curiosity, makes inquiry a mindset and lifelong learning habit, and lays a solid foundation for critical thinking and other higher order thinking skills, or HOTS. The study also posits that IBTL in early childhood education that is not anchored on a specific subject area and provides equal importance to the process and content allows for smooth transition and continuity of learning from preschool to early primary grades to succeeding educational levels. This descriptive study, which was carried out from 2016 to 2019, used various methods such as FGDs, classroom observations, and interviews. The study aimed to document selected Southeast Asian learning institutions' IBTL policies and practices at the early childhood education level, explore the variables that affect the practice of IBTL in ECE, such as curriculum, enabling policies, teaching and learning methodology that includes partnership of parents and teachers, students' learning assessment, learning materials, and learning environment. Propose possible approaches in IBTL that may be contextualized and replicated by other preschool or early grade learning institutions. School heads, teachers, and students, including parents, from 16 public and private schools and learning institutions from Brunei Darussalam, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam participated in the study. Now, as we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated the need to support learners, most especially the younger ones. In order to support young learners, teachers, parents, and other learning partners alike need to exert extra effort to ensure that learning continues, whether it be through remote learning at home or some form of blended learning in school. Whether under normal learning circumstances or in a pandemic setting, inquiry-based teaching and learning is an approach that can facilitate development of 21st century skills in young children. IBTL is a term that encompasses various approaches or strategies that apply the principles of inquiry, such as problem-based learning, project-based learning, and the philosophy for children, or P4C. In this study, SEAMEO INNOTECH used the IBTL process framework, which adheres to the 5E instructional model by Bybee et al., and combines other related research on IBTL. As you can see here, the framework is divided into 3 fundamental phases. Phase 1, engagement. Phase 2, exploration, explanation, and elaboration, which are grouped together in one phase. Phase 3, evaluation. While this phase 4, it is added as an opportunity for teachers to enhance the teaching approach for a specific lesson, either in case the lesson needs to be repeated for the same class or for implementation in other future classes. Reflection points for teachers and expected involvement of students in the process are likewise identified in the framework. For example, T1 and T2 refer to teachers' reflection points after the sessions. T1 are questions that should have been asked, while T2 are questions not appropriately responded to by the student. S1, S2, S3, S4, and S5 refer to students' involvement in the process, where S1 means the students are expected to participate in learning activities. S2, collect and manipulate data in order to answer questions or conduct hands-on or problem-solving activities. S3, seek clarification of concept, demonstrate their understanding of the concept, process, or skills. S4, apply new understanding to another context. And S5, produce outputs and share or discuss with the class. The 5E instructional model is mostly used in teaching science, but as noted in various classroom observations, the competencies for each phase can be applied in teaching other learning areas such as language, listening skills, outdoor education, literacy and numeracy, arts and crafts, mathematics, and life skills. In the succeeding slides, we will zoom in on each phase and look at some examples documented from various countries. The examples are simple and easy to follow or replicate, whether during remote learning at home or regular schooling in campus, and can be facilitated by parents or teachers. During the engagement phase, the teacher accesses the learner's prior knowledge and experiences. Short activities are conducted to promote curiosity and organize students' thinking toward the learning outcomes of the planned activities. The teacher helps the learners become engaged in a new concept through the use of short activities that promote curiosity and elicit prior knowledge. Here is an example. Like many of you here, I am also a parent who needed to step up as a learning partner to support remote learning under the COVID-19 pandemic. In this slide, you will see a video that we prepared at home for homework in social studies. My son's class was studying various landforms back then, particularly volcanoes. As part of their homework, the teacher gave them guide questions to answer. How do volcanoes work? And are volcanoes dangerous or helpful? Let's see how a simple activity promotes curiosity and organize students' thinking toward a desired learning outcome.
Hi, my name is Zach. Do you want to know how volcanoes work? When the temperature inside the earth becomes very hot, magma is formed. Magma is melted rocks. The magma goes up to the surface and the rocks to form the lava flows that make up volcanoes. Volcanic eruptions can destroy things and even lives, but they can also be helpful by adding minerals and nutrients to the ground. Have you seen a real volcanic eruption? I have not! I will show you how to make your own volcanic eruption. First, cover your table so it will not get messy. You can use old newspaper. You need baking soda, liquid soap, and vinegar. Add the baking soda, then add the liquid soap, and then add the vinegar. Remember, ask your parents for help. Bye!
Okay. This simple activity that uses readily available materials at home can be used to introduce a topic, in this case, the characteristic of volcanoes. After the activity, as a learning partner, you can continue to prompt your ward to reflect on any past experiences about volcanic eruptions. They may have watched it in movies or in the news or experienced by family members, and continue with the lesson on landforms. Under phase 2 of the IBTL process framework, we cluster the next 3 E's of the 5 E's instructional model: exploration, explanation, and elaboration. In exploration, learners undertake activities or experiments that help them use prior knowledge to generate new ideas, explore questions and possibilities, and design or conduct research. Now, this photo was taken in a supervised neighborhood play in Muntinlupa City in the Philippines. The pupils listened to the story of Jepoy the Jeepney. Jeepneys are the most common mode of transportation in that community. The teacher used the story to gain the interest of students in exploring other modes of transportation. The teacher then asked them, "What other modes of transportation do you know?" Then the students started picking out airplanes, boats, trucks, and cars from this group of toys that were also provided by the teacher. In explanation, teachers have the opportunity to directly introduce a concept, process, or skill. They also seek students' understanding using probing questions. Learners explain or clarify their understanding of the concept. Deeper understanding is achieved through the teacher's explanation. In this photo, in Singapore, grade 1 and grade 2 students attend the program for active learning to facilitate smooth transition from preschool to primary school education. Outdoor education is one form of PAL. In this photo, students simulated a nature scavenger hunt and were asked to find specific animals such as spiders and butterflies. They were also asked to find other subjects or objects such as something pointy, something beautiful, something red and green, encouraging them to come up with different answers. After the scavenger hunt, the teacher asked the pupils to think about what transpired during the activity. The teacher asked if they liked the scavenger hunt and encourages them to explain their answers. The pupils were later asked to write the 3 things they learned from the activity and share their reflections. Referring to the task of taking photos using a tablet, some photos cited the importance of sharing, taking turns, and working with others. The fourth E of the 5 E's instructional model is the elaboration of knowledge gained by students. There you go. During this phase, teachers challenge and extend students' understanding and skills. Students apply new understanding to new problems or another context. To reinforce what they have learned from a taste test experiment, these pupils of a school in Malaysia were tasked to cut photos of food from their worksheets and categorize them according to the 4 basic tastes, which include salty, sour, sweet, bitter. Now, the entire phase 2, may it be an exploration, explanation, or elaboration, student involvement includes collecting and manipulating data in order to answer questions or conduct hands-on or problem-solving activities, seeking clarification of concepts, demonstrating their understanding of the concept, process, or skills, and applying new understanding and concept to another context. Now, phase 3, the last E of the 5E instructional model is evaluation. Teachers assess whether or not students are developing an understanding of the concept. Students produce outputs that they share for classroom discussion. In this photo, kindergarten students of a school in Vietnam learned about the unique work of a magician as the class tackles the theme different occupations. The teacher coached the students to do simple tricks. After giving them time to practice, students were asked to imagine that they are professional magicians and perform their magic tricks in front of the class. Through this activity, students not only develop their imagination and creativity as little magicians, but also become more confident in performing in front of their classmates. At the end of the session, teachers also reflect on questions not appropriately responded to by the students as input to improving the lesson delivery. This phase 4 or modification of the IBTL process framework, as I've mentioned earlier, was added as an opportunity for teachers to enhance the teaching approach for specific lesson, either in case the lesson needs to be repeated for the same class or for implementation in other future classes. More examples of IBTL approaches can be found in the research publication. The links to these publications I will share with you in a bit. Now let's move on to the findings of the study. Looking at national policy environment, the governments of Brunei Darussalam, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam all initiated measures in the past decade to align their respective educational systems with 21st century requirements. They recast their educational frameworks and overhauled their basic education curriculum to place stronger emphasis on cultivating their young citizens' critical thinking, creativity, and innovation, problem-solving abilities, communication skills, socio-cultural awareness, and participation, and other life skills. These initiatives are anchored on laws, education development plans or blueprint, and curricular framework. There is a clear preference for IBTL as a learning method to promote critical and creative thinking, nurture curiosity, foster engaged and active learning, and facilitate deeper understanding of foundational concepts. However, most of the country's national policies and plans fell short of indicating how the teachers will be capacitated or trained to use IBTL to deliver content. Only the Brunei Darussalam Education Ministry provided details on its professional enhancement plans for teachers. Moreover, it is worth noting that except for Singapore and Malaysia, none of the countries have specified in their national plans how student assessments will be done under an inquiry-based learning environment. For the 11 public schools included in the study, state policy is the impetus for integrating inquiry as a pedagogical approach. The 5 private schools in the study, on the other hand, had more autonomy in terms of the timetable for introducing IBTL, the model used, and the level and content area where IBTL would be practiced. Research results show that there is no one type or model of IBTL practiced in the schools under the study. Some schools follow the 5B instructional model, while a few other schools are committed to the project-based approach. Still, other schools were unable to define the type of IBTL that teachers are pursuing. On further examination, these are schools that have no explicit policy on IBTL or have no IBTL-oriented training program for teachers, but nonetheless encourage their teachers to use inquiry as one of their instructional strategies. Most of the schools have incorporated IBTL as early as preschool, although some were unclear on whether it is confined to preschool or applied in other grades as well. At least 3 public schools are using the inquiry approach to teach science. This practice is evidently a reflection of many Southeast Asian governments' policy to promote the sciences toward the production of more STEM graduates. Other schools ventured to use IBTL or elements of inquiry in other learning areas such as math, reading, language, and the arts. 2 private schools, meanwhile, have integrated the inquiry model in all learning areas. When it comes to student assessment, none of the schools have instituted a systematic method for assessing the specific outcomes of IBTL. The benefits mentioned by school administrators, teachers, and parents are all casual or informal observations. As for the benefits of IBTL, all the school administrators and representatives interviewed reported observing positive behavioral changes in children exposed to the inquiry approach. Most mentioned that children seem to have gained more confidence in communicating with others, became more independent thinkers and learners, and were more observant inquisitive, and adventurous. Some school administrators also mentioned that IBTL made learning fun and enjoyable for children. Most parent informants positively view the inquiry-based approach since they reported observing noticeable changes in their children. Moreover, student informants generally said that they enjoy and learn from IBTL activities in their children. Children who were interviewed for this study mentioned that they had fun and learned new things by doing hands-on activities, listening to stories, using picture cards, and playing games. However, effective implementation of IBTL is oftentimes hampered by the following factors: lack of space and other learning resources for IBTL activities such as science apparatus and internet connectivity. When it comes to teacher attitude, preparation, experience, there seems to be lack of experience and preparation, lack of adequate knowledge, and training on the IBTL process. Planning sessions or lessons, identifying and organizing interesting activities, preparing visual aids and other learning materials, and crafting appropriate questions are all time-consuming tasks. There is also limited time allocation for each subject, which does not support the long-drawn process of inquiry practice. As regards parental knowledge and attitude, the study revealed that there is lack of technical knowledge and familiarity with the syllabus and necessity of doing research to address the questions posed by their children. The study also offers a set of policy recommendations drawn from interviews with various stakeholders. On teacher preparation, national education authorities need to facilitate the convergence of efforts by ministries of education and teacher education institutions toward the goal of institutionalizing IBTL as a teaching practice. At the pre-service level, the inquiry process should be highlighted as an approach for learning, transitioning to the immersion of student teachers on the application of IBTL theory. Regular in-service training programs such as distance education and school-based programs for teachers and school administrators are likewise suggested to be offered collaboratively by national education authorities. The school head plays an important role as an instructional leader in mentoring and coaching, especially in this type of training. Hence, instructional leadership skills of school heads in areas such as leading curriculum implementation and contextualization, delivering planned learning outcomes, local language materials development, and instructional mentoring or coaching should also be strengthened. Knowledge sharing among teachers and school heads or supervisors by establishing IBTL communities of practice, initiating and sustaining personal and professional learning networks, conducting lesson studies or learning action cells, and holding or participating in learning exchange program can also be introduced to support the professional development of both teachers and school administrators. Education authorities are also encouraged to integrate the ECCD Teacher Competency Framework for Southeast Asia and the Regional Competency Framework for Teachers in Southeast Asia in pre-service and in-service training programs. Professional development for teachers should likewise include development of both tangible skills, such as facilitating the development of learners' life and career skills, facilitating learning, preparing and appropriate lesson plans in line with the school vision and mission, creating a conducive learning environment, developing and utilizing teaching and learning resources, developing higher order thinking skills, and enhancing integrating ethical and moral values in all learning areas, and soft skills including rekindling and sustaining passion for teaching. As for the learning materials, schools intending to pursue IBTL should identify and invest in the required resources and make these resources available to children to enrich their learning experience through active learning. Teacher-made materials or improvised teaching materials using locally available materials and with the participation of parents and other stakeholders in preparing these materials can also be applied if financial support is limited. It is also recommended that education authorities and teachers closely examine how technology support and impact the inquiry-based learning process. Now, when it comes to learning environment, apart from identifying learning spaces where class activities can be held, it is important to ensure that the learning environment stimulates inquiry and critical thinking and fosters a caring, supportive atmosphere and love for learning. Pictures, maps, posters, and educational toys are just some materials that can be made available for learners inside the classroom or within the learning area to facilitate learning. The learning environment should also be maintained as a safe space for children. Schools should be made aware of and consider the limitations expressed by parents when they develop their IBTL program. It is important to orient parents on IBTL, to familiarize them on the goals and strategies of IBTL, to clarify and manage their expectations, misconceptions, or apprehensions on IBTL, and to help them better understand their roles as learning partners of the school. As regards the assessment of children's progress, further study needs to be undertaken on how practitioners of IBTL in Southeast Asian schools assess children's progress. In general, involving students in their own assessment is a principle of IBTL, which is consistent with formative assessment methods which rely on constant and reciprocal feedback between student and teachers. Moreover, IBTL practitioners employ a range of tools and strategies that allow them to make a more holistic assessment of the student's learning. These include authentic assessment strategies, non-traditional techniques, use of rubrics to assess student outputs, peer assessment, informal interviews, and classroom observations. Now, since national education policy still place much importance on standardized tests to measure learning outcomes, it is recommended that schools committed to IBTL design an assessment system that balances national requirements with student-centered learning, inclusive education, and holistic assessment that is aligned with IBTL. Informants of the study note that the 5E instructional model and other permutation of IBTL encourage children's curiosity, stimulate thinking, foster imagination, and give children opportunities to explore new ways of learning. There is a consensus that through simple activities, learners develop the habit of investigating and validating the information they come across. For the 5E instructional model and other IBTL instructional approaches to be effective, schools should be able to recognize how these approaches can be contextualized to suit their realities, taking into consideration the differences in culture, available resources, teacher preparation, and national or school-level policies on IBTL. Apart from national policies, when it comes to enabling school policies, schools should also develop their own policies on IBTL that are aligned with the national or regional, provincial, district policies, guidelines, and standards. The critical role of the school head in instructional leadership, managerial leadership, strategic thinking and innovation, stakeholder engagement, and including personal excellence should be underscored to support and strengthen the IBTL practice. And finally, when it comes to monitoring and evaluation, education authorities should develop a monitoring and evaluation framework for IBTL practice, one that can be used across schools, which includes indicators to track students' behavioral change or learning progress, methods and frequency of data collection, and method of analyzing data. Action research at the national or school level may also be undertaken not only to establish tangible impact, but also to identify gaps and weaknesses in improving learning outcomes. In conclusion, developing higher order thinking skills as part of the 21st century learning is one of the education goals in all countries where the study was conducted. all participating countries recognize IBTL as one of the promising approaches that can be used to enhance critical and creative thinking skills among children. Acknowledging the benefits derived from the practice as shared by selected schools that have embraced the inquiry approach, IBTL is an area that national educational authorities are suggested to systematically investigate to scale up the reported and encouraging results among children. It is beneficial to inculcate the inquiry practice among children at an early age to nurture their natural state of inquisitiveness. Ultimately, these fundamental skills will prepare them for future jobs that are needed to propel the society's growth in the wake of the Fourth Industrial Revolution and increasing regional and global integration. More examples of IBTL will be shared later during the breakout session. You may access the various IBTL knowledge products through the Innotech websites. The links are given in these slides. And that would be all for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Miss Lauren. And also thank you to Zach for participating. I'm already in my late 20s, but I still feel excited seeing the volcano experiment. So I hope you learned about IBTL from Miss Lauren, and I hope that you can also apply this to your own context. It still depends on your creativity how things will go. But I hope what Miss Lauren gave us emphasized the importance and the effectiveness of IBTL. Okay, so thank you again, Miss Lauren, and we hope to see you later in the Q&A session. If you have questions for Miss Lauren, kindly put them in the chat and the comments section of our live feed on Facebook and YouTube. But right now, let's move on to our next session. Okay, we will focus on the other big player in ensuring the continuity of early childhood care and development, the parents and caregivers. The pandemic underscored the parents' role as learning partners of the children. With the limited presence of teachers in distance learning, parents stood in as learning facilitators at home. We have here today with us the Deputy Director for Programs of SEAMEO Regional Center for Early Childhood Care Education and Parenting, SEAMEO CISEP, Dr. Vuti It, to discuss the roles of parents and caregivers in ECCD programs. Dr. Vuti, the floor is now yours.
Okay, thank you very much for the time to be sharing about the early childhood care education and parenting. So may I ask the permission to show the slide? So it's slideshow by the committee already, yeah? Okay. SEAMEO CISEP is one of the SEAMEO regional center and in Southeast Asia. We are located in Bandung, Indonesia. SEAMEO CISEP is the abbreviation from the Southeast Asian Minister of Education Organization, Regional Center for Early Childhood Care, Education and Parenting. Next slide, please. This is the role of parenting skill in early childhood learning and experience and development. So we not only focus about the ECCE, but also the parenting, how the parent can be a good facilitator to the children. My name is here. It's already introduced by the host. Next, please. So the light of our is started from in the worm and to the term. So now we are focused in early lifelong advance. Because our area is early childhood care education, and we have also about the parenting, how about the health, safety, educated, and then can be the skill and empower, productive, and resilient. ever we are in the pandemic COVID-19, we should be resilient to this situation. Okay. Okay, next slide, please. We know already, based on the resources from the Ministry of Education, Culture, and Indonesia, about the hippocampus is the center for the brain that function to remember, reason, and regulate the emotions. And the volume of hippocampus increased sharply in the children who are receiving loving care. So the children that get the loving care from their parents, they are increased very sharply. And also on the other hand, the children who not getting the attention of parents, the hippocampus growth is inhibited. This is based on the research and conducted by the sources from the Ministry of Education of Indonesia. Next. This is the human brain development. You see, this one is the yellow one is for the vision and hearing, and then the blue one is for language, and then higher cognition function. So when the peak of the brain development observations, hearing, and language function occurs in the 1,000 days of life. So as a parent, we should know this the step of the development of the children from the fetus to the age of year 2. So 1,000 days, it started from in the pregnancies up to the 2 years of the children, and then continue to develop until before reaching the age of 5. This is the big development of the human brains in the humans. Next. This is the parents should also know about the investment. Investment does not have to be in gold. People buy the gold for investments, but investing in the gold is certainly good, but investing in children is in the age, the golden age is not less important. So important also, the parents should be invest to their children in the age, in the golden age of the children. Invest at the age of 0 to 5 years will make easier for the children to walk the day into the future with glorious. This is from Dr. Ella. She said like that. Dr. Ella, PhD in 2018. Next. The child-parent relation has the major influence, of course, because we are stay in the one environment on the most aspect of children development. So the impact of the parent to the development of the children is very important. When the option, parenting skill and behavior have a positive impact to the children's self-esteem, school achievement, and also cognitive development and behavior. So the children will get more positive result from the parents. Next. Nowadays, we come to the 21st century skill should be skilled by the children and student need also. We have basic literacy, we have competencies, should have the student or the citizen in the world should get the competency, also the character quality. In the basic literacy, the students should have can read, can write, can count, science library, ICT literacy, finance literacy, and culture and citizenship literacy. This is the basic literacy. But according to the Indonesian Ministry of Education, not allow the early childhood for count, for reading, and for the writing. So they just introduce how to write, how to read, and how to count. And also for the students, how our complete the challenges should have the critical thinking. This is a 21st century skill. Should also the teacher or parents should integration this skill to at the home environment, also at the school environments. So the problem, creativity, communication, how to be a good communication and collaboration like BLTB, IBTL, it should be the collaboration with other students to be good in these projects. And also the character, believe in God, fearing to curiosity and initiative. Of course, initiative is very important. Persistent to the environment, to the what we see nowadays, a more dangerous one about the virus, and ability to adapt it to the protocol of living in pandemic. COVID-19 is very important. Leadership to the social and cultural awareness. Next, please. Learning in industrial 4.0, but in Japan is 5.0 already, starting at the early age, should be integrated into the curriculum or integrated by the teacher at school. So early childhood want to know, early child, so they much want to know, even it's hot water, they also hold it, they don't know, so they don't know this hot or not, but they really want to know. Child nature is easy to understand, limited experience of children, effort to increase the plural intelligence, and then limited of the environment monitoring. 9 skill for the children: smart words, logic smart, body smart. When the other people want to carry them, if they don't know is their parent or not, they don't want to follow. Picture smart and also cell smart, people smart, musical smart, and natural smart, spiritual smart. This is 9 skill of the children should have this one. Next. This is what level of the education we get the information, and then become the critical thinking, and also information we can learn as the education. This is whenever whatever we should be get from the information to learn, to develop, to their critical thinking. Next. This is I get from the World Organization, challenges in family. Now the marriage law and marriage preparation challenges. Even in Indonesia, the most biggest population in Southeast Asia now is 270 million population in Southeast Asia. Is the big problems for the early married age for the young people. They get married, after that they will, what we say, divorce and get a big problem to the social. So important about the awareness of the marriage, it's very important for our society and parenting for our what we say country. The impact of the global ICT, many people, many children, this abused by the ICT. They don't want to learn, just play a game online, and value of communication is come down. And then the challenge of the instructor roles and responsible in the Indonesian family. And this is most challenges for the in Indonesia. More parents will face the time binds and impact to work economy. And then we go to the more people remaining single also, because the youth of yesterday I get from the Ministry of Youth, only 50% of the population, this youths age in Indonesia. And also the women will get into the labor, this one. And then we come to the family mobility increase from the rural area to the urban area. So many challenges in our society. Next. The role of parent in families. Parents understand the periodization and state of the children development. You should know the state from 1,000 days. So infancy is 1,000 days from birth. And then also the children from 3 to 8 years to 6 years. This is the stage 1, stage 2, and also stage 3 is from 6 to 12. This is the school year children should get the education from the school. And adolescent is from 12 to 17. And also adulthood 17 to up. State of the children development are important to be understand by parents or an early childhood teacher should be know about this. So the parent and teacher can be provide stimulation appropriate to the age of year development of the children developments. Next. Understand the knowledge and child development as the part of the awareness and of the responsibility as a parent. So parents should have the knowledge and understanding about child development. Provide the proper nutrition. We are also SEAMEO INNOTECH working with the SEAMEO Reg Fund to be the news program about HNI, provide the vitamin, nutrition to ensure good physical development to the children, give full love and complete affection to ensure girls' social, emotional development, prepare the right environments for the children grow and development, and ensure appropriate education for the children. Education for all is very important in the world. The people or the children get education, it will be better living in our society. Next. This is a family age function. We have religious function should be take care also. Number 1, number 2 is not number 1. I count from this religious function, social culture function. Even though we working in the global society, global citizenship, so we should know the social culture function. Love and affection and protection function, education, socialization function, and then reproduction health and function. This is very important also, reproduction function, and also economic function and environment function. This is the family function to be known by the parents in our society. Next. The role of parents in positive parenting, establish positive communication with children. Do not compare children with the other children because every children is unique. So do not compare our children to the other children. And then give the trust to the children because basically every children has competence ability, and this competency will develop when children are trusted. Bring the children close to the gods through the exemplary and build children's sense of empathy for the environment and people. Parents can manage emotion well. So as a parent, we also do the positive parenting, manage emotion well to the children. Next. This positive parent goal, we have the optimize children growth and development. SEAMEO INNOTECH developed one application in Android about the child developments. Through the positive parenting, children get adequate opportunity to develop their potential and confidence, independence, discipline, grow accordingly with his age without any pressure. Free from the intimidation and fear. And then the prevent deviant behavior. Positive parent provide the opportunity for children develop noble character to improve the quality of children's interaction within parents. So, but nowadays the impact from the ICT, the children is not low communication with the parents. They're letting the abnormality to grow and development of children. Positive parenting allow the person of the sensitivity of the present to every stage. So we have many stages to be more focused, more identify, and to know how to develop with the children. Next. There are principles of innovation learning approach in early childhood. Principle developmentally approach practice. Principle of this DAC explain that teacher and parent delivery learning material must be in according with the development and needs of the children. And then joyful learning for the children. Joyful learning is the learning strategy and concept that is a combination of the meaningful, contextual, constructive, active, and physiological. Children will excited and happy in learning activity because students know that the meaning and use of the learning. Children learns according to their talent and interest by combination the concept of learning that is being learned with reality and everyday life, even with the actual problem that occur in the development in society. Next, please. The role of parent and teacher. So the parents should know, and teacher, ECCD teacher also should know. It's very important to encourage the children to be more developed in loving their learning. Therefore, the parents should take the real efforts, their support for the children, compassion, protection, and care to the children, enough time for children to learn, provide a positive learning environment, learning to behave for the child is learn how to hold and use. Teach a good moral to the children. When we talking about the moral, even in our house, we should teach the moral, respect to the order, and respect to the brother, sister in the house. Next. This is three pillar, three center in education should be do the collaboration or partnership. One in family when the children in the family. They also have learned from their parent, and then they learn from in school. They also learn from their teacher, their friend in the school, and also community. The three center in this three center of education should be collaborated in order to increase the quality of education for our young generations. Next. This is the alignment. This is the partnership between children and family. Alignment and mutual respect should be respect each other. Spirit of mutual collaboration and togetherness complements each other and strengthen love and care for the one another. This is the partnership between children and parents in the family. Next. Why the parent need to be involved in the school? This is parents also need to involve to the school in order to give input to the school progress, in order to do repetition and positive at home, in order to help school development, the programs, in order to follow the development of the give support to the children learning progress, in order also to understand stage development of the child and child learning readiness. This is the source from Ministry of Education of the Indonesia. Next. The benefits involving parents in the children education is benefit for the children, increasing the children desire to go to school. Nowadays, because of pandemic, the what we say enrollment rate is come below because I don't know about the parent thinking, but we should do the advocacy for the parent about the importance of education for preschool. I heard from the first speaker that in Philippines, at least 1 year preschool education, but in Indonesia now also have this regulation, at least 1 year preschool before they come to the elementary school. Increase the children development and achievement, and so increase children positive behavior. It's very important the children behavior nowadays, so we should be teach the children to be a good behavior. Increase the children self-trust. This is the benefit for the children. Next. This is a benefit for the parent. Just now we see benefit for the children, but now it's benefit for the parent. Increase the parent hope in children, and also increase the parent desires to continuing study, and also increase parent collaboration with school. This is one. And the benefit for the school gets support. School climate is more better because of the partnership between the parent, between the children also. Increase teacher spirit to work. So the spirit of the teacher increase for working, and then progress support to all school program. This one is the partnership between the parent, community, and family. Next. Parent and teacher interaction pattern in social contact, involvement of the teacher and parent for online learning, because the big problem now for the in the pandemic COVID-19 era, it's very difficult for the teacher to teach the student learning from home. So they should looking for strategy, because the ECCE school, ECCE center have no website, have no online. So the teacher, how can they teach to the children? The children even not cannot use the equipment, ICT equipment. So the parents should be accompany the children for the learning this one, and the teacher should looking for the strategy how to be provided delivering learning material to the students. Use the Zoom application technology in this one, and seeking understanding on the implementation of the online learning, collaborating between teacher and parents, implementation of teaching and learning, and for communication, openness teacher and parent in the progress learning assistant. Teacher and parent provide support and motivation to each other. Teacher and parent develop the empathy for each other effort in the assisting children learnings. Next. This is the parent involvement in school. We have number 1, number 2, meeting with the teacher, attending the parent class. Third is become a guest speaker in the inspiration class. Love in parent involved in the parent association, attending the social program at school, hope to manage, help to manage library, attend on Father's Day, and then attend to the final school year, and also attend the academic report providing. This is parents should be involved in all the programs to know better for our children. Next. Thank you very much. This is our office in Lembang. Here's coal near the volcanic Tangkuban Perahu. If you want to come here to see the volcanic, the real volcanics is not far from our office. Thank you very much for your attention and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Director Ruthie, for emphasizing the role of the parents in the development of our young learners. And it's interesting to see the challenges when you showed them, especially the part wherein single people are marrying later. It struck a chord somewhere, and I know so many people. Anyway, please don't leave, Dr. Ruthie, as we invite Dr. She and Ma'am Lau to join us for the Q&A. Doc She and Ma'am Lau, can you please turn on your cameras? People are marrying later. Struck a chord somewhere, and I know so many. Doc She, and we have Doc She, Ma'am Lau. Are you here with us? There we go. And let's wait for there. And so this is our Q&A panel. I hope you can see all our speakers. I have received 3 questions so far, coming from Zoom and 1 from our Facebook Live. So the first question, if our loving staff can type this chat box, that would be great as well. So the first question, this is not addressed to anyone in particular. The question is, does the institutionalization of early childhood care and development consider the idea of institutionalization of early foreign language education in the future, where parents will be given an option to have their children acquire or learn foreign languages like Spanish, French, or Mandarin for 10 to 12 years of formal schooling, starting at the age of 3? So that's the question. Let me know if you need the question repeated. So anyone can answer the question?
I can start. In terms of institutionalization, what we saw in Southeast Asia, the level of early childhood care and development, preference is on the use of mother tongue. Okay, so it's not only in the Philippines, because as we know, we institutionalize the use of mother tongue from kindergarten or grade 1 to 3, right? So with that, in terms of the choice for language, it's not actually institutionalized, no? It's not institutionalized. I mean, a foreign language is not institutionalized yet. Especially, for example, in the case of the Philippines, that we are strengthening mother tongue at the early age. And this is actually happening in other Southeast Asian countries. There is Malaysia, for example, in the context of Malaysia, they have English, I believe, grade 3. So also in the Philippines, at certain point we start English, but in terms of institutionalization at an early age in the ECCD, I don't think so. I haven't seen any data whatsoever in the context of Southeast Asia. My access might be limited, but as far as the study is concerned, there's no such thing as institutionalization of foreign language at an early age.
Thank you so much, Doc She. So to reiterate what Doc She said, the focus right now, especially on ECCD, is to use the mother tongue, and the institutionalization of foreign languages is not yet in view, as I suppose. Thank you, Doc She. Anyone else would like to address this question?
For Indonesia, these events, the what we say ECCD is children's. The regulation from the Ministry of Education of Indonesia not allow the teacher teach the children how to count, how to write, and how to read. This regulation, but the parents wants their children can write, can read, and also can count. This is the big problem also in the society. But I see in Cambodia now many what we say international kindergarten. So because they write international in kindergarten to use the bilingual Khmer language and English to gain more what we say students, because they are business oriented. So they use this one as a strategy to gain more children to come to their international kindergarten. So this strategy, so this from the international kindergarten, they teach in Khmer and in English, bilingual, using in teaching and learning. This is I answer to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vuthi. And I'm sorry, but I think there is something wrong with my audio. Anyway, thank you so much, Dr. Vuthi. Would anyone else like to add to that or hop off with what Dr. Vuthi shared with us?
Yes, Jen. Yes, if I may. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Because it's raining so hard, I'm not sure if my audio is clear. Yeah. Regarding the language, the question on language. My thoughts are may not be exactly related to the question institutionalizing foreign language at an early grade, but what I wanted to share or to add to the sentiments of our esteemed speakers here also is that for inquiry-based teaching and learning, what we saw in the studies that whether you're teaching mother language or maybe a foreign language, say English, for non-English speakers, the approach using inquiry-based teaching learning is a very powerful tool to facilitate the learning. So whether it's foreign language or mother tongue, so the approach would be helpful.
Thank you, Ma'am Lau. So yes, I hope you remember the concepts that Ma'am Lau shared a while ago on IBTL, and we hope that it could also help you facilitate learning of foreign languages. Okay, maybe we can move on to the next question. This is again a general question, not addressed to anyone in particular. Given the many challenges and initiatives we have taken in recent years, especially during the pandemic, how do you see the status of ECCD or the early childhood care education and parenting in Southeast Asia in the future? So basically, it's asking your views on how the status of ECCD might change in Southeast Asia for the future?
May I address?
Sorry, I'll repeat the question. Given the many challenges and initiatives we have taken in recent years, especially during the pandemic, how do you see the status of early childhood care education and parenting in Southeast Asia in the future?
Okay, thank you very much. The ECCD is not only in the Southeast Asia, but the concern of the United Nations. They have also many, regulation about ECCD. And in Southeast Asia, we from the director of INNOTECH mentioned that the Southeast Asia, they have 7 SEAMEO priority. So number 1 is about the ECCE. So the global and the regional and also the nation more focused on the ECCE now. So ECCE can be opened, the study program in the university. With the Goiseon University, we also just, they apply for the open, early childhood study programs in their university, and also many other. So don't worry about the government will be focused on the ECCE, but the most important for the graduate from the ECCE study programs, they should have a standard to work to get the equal salary with the other program study. This one is we should be focused, and the government should be focused on that to be equal in the jobs by the ECCE graduation. Thank you.
Yeah. Jen?
Go ahead, Doc She.
Okay. To me, it's promising. Looking at the different policies, the different programs in Southeast Asia, we are moving towards a very promising development in early childhood care, or ECCD, or ECE. Actually, the term varies from one country to another as well. Some country ECCD, some other countries ECE. But at any rate, in terms of the early childhood care and development, I believe it's really promising, considering that the different policies, the different laws actually for some countries are in place about ECCD programs. And there are different interventions being done within the country to the help of NGOs. I mentioned earlier a very commendable experience in the case of Plan International Indonesia. Is focused on the community-based ECCD. And these are actually evident in different countries. However, in terms of strength, in terms of how fast it progresses in one country, it actually varies. It varies from one country to another. But then everything, all the mechanism, the laws, the programs, the different interventions, and even innovations are there already. It's just that we have to make it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc She. Based on what Dr. Vuthi and Doc She said, I believe ECCD has a very bright future ahead of us. And looking forward and very excited to what will happen in the future years. Hoping that if I have my own children, they would benefit from it as well.
That's right.
Even in Indonesia, the president degree said that one village, one ECE center. So every village should have this ECCE center. So the president degree that by the president Jokowi that said that should have one ECCE center in a village.
Well, that's great news for Indonesia, and hoping that we would have the same endeavors here in the Philippines. Okay, maybe we can move on to the next question unless you would like to share something, Ms. Lau. Okay, so we can move on. This one is particularly, I guess, well, not particularly for anyone, but this is, I think, a very particular question. Is it humane to have our education system treat our young children as investment goods? Or is it just a command of the education trends on this millennium to see our children as business commodities and treat them as investments that would earn returns of investments for businesses? Or is this just the outcome of commercializing the education? I think this is very controversial, and I think it's a loaded question, but would anyone like to respond to this? Maybe address the assumptions as well? As far as I can see, the question actually assumes that the education system treats the young children as investment goods. Maybe you can address this assumption first before we move on to the question.
Right. That's right. Okay, if I may share. Well, commercialization. So there are loaded terms, investment goods. I think I would like to connect this with literature that I highlighted in my presentation. So I think this question is rooted to those important studies that I highlighted earlier. So let's say, for example, what Heckman showed in his study, that the access to quality early childhood intervention has also been associated with high earnings, labor force productivity, stronger social attachment. Okay, so the term commercialization and investment good, again, might not be, for me, the right term, because it's not compulsory. It's not like mandatory. Oh, okay, you enroll in early childhood and it's mandatory. There's a paper, there's an agreement that you have to serve the society. But this is more on the holistic development of children. So it's not only about becoming an investment and eventually become part of, you have to pay back eventually. So that's the idea that I get when that commercialization and investment good was raised or were raised earlier in the question. So with that, if it is mandatory and it is like there's a law whatsoever that they have to serve, they have to do this and that as a return of investment, then maybe there's such a thing indeed as commercialization and investment of good. But then this is the program so far that I've seen in Southeast Asia is a lot different, because we are more concerned on the holistic development of children so that they could be a better citizen in society and not a payment for whatever the government has provided in the early childhood years. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. She. So we're not intentionally commercializing our children, but the natural consequence of good ECCD program are productive citizens. And that is what the studies have shown so far. And yes, this is the question was very loaded, and we are running out of time. So, but please do not worry. We will send your questions to our panels here. So keep sending them. We'll take note of them, and we'll ask our panels to respond to these questions. And
I think Sir Bennett wants to say something.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Sir Bennett raised his hand. Sir Bennett, would you like to share something?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Genesis. And just a quick point to underline Dr. She's point. No, in the case of the Philippines, it has evolved. No, before and has become more democratized over the years. Meaning, early childhood care and education provision. Note that before, I would say about 20 years ago, it's strictly a private sector-driven education provision. It was not state-provided. In some cases, limited community, private organizations provided that. And then came state-based or government-supported provision of early childhood care, kindergarten. The terms, as mentioned by Dr. Shah, the terms vary from country to country and even probably from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. But what I'm saying is, contrary to, shall we say, commercialization or commodification, it hasn't, because over the years it has become more democratized with state support and also institutional support from state-run organizations. And I think Bhuti also underlined this as a direction being taken by the government of Indonesia. And note that Indonesia comprises half of Southeast Asia. So whatever Indonesia does is bound to be a major intervention in our education. I guess I've said too much and not enough time here. Let me just finally say congratulations to our presenters and thank you.
Thank you, Sir Bennett. If you have further comments regarding the question, or if you would like to add additional thoughts, please use our chat box to share your inputs. And so our panelists and anyone who would like to share their thoughts, please make use of the chat box. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, but again, we are not going to disregard your questions. We will get back to you if possible, and we would still reach out to our panelists for their input. Thank you so much, Doc She, Ms. Lau, and Dr. Vuti for the wonderful presentations, and of course, for entertaining us in this Q&A session. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on. Okay, thank you everyone for staying with us up to this point. I know it has been a long day, but I hope that you have experienced a very fruitful learning session with us. So the next part of the program is dedicated to our simultaneous or parallel session. Zoom participants will be assigned to a room, but you may join another room by pressing the breakout rooms button. So initially, our Zoom participants will be assigned to one room, but you will have the authority, you will have the ability to choose your breakout rooms. So once you are in the breakout room, once you have accepted the invitation to join a breakout room, you may check the breakout room button at the bottom of your Zoom window. For some mobile users, the breakout room session or the breakout room option will be seen at the top of their screens. So you can choose your breakout rooms using that function. And however, for our live viewers, please don't leave just yet. We have videos for you, and we hope that you can also share your thoughts to us as we play the videos later on. So we are now starting to open the breakout rooms. Please wait for the prompt in your Zoom window. And any minute now, any moment now, the breakout rooms will be open and you will be assigned to one. Okay. So, all right. You may now enter your breakout sessions, your breakout rooms. Please click the join. Curiosities. If you have additional questions, you may also place them in the comment section. So another partner for this event is the ECCD Council of the Philippines, the Early Childhood Care and Development Council of the Philippines. The ECCD Council is the government arm providing services and programs for children in partnership with other government agencies and private institutions. Let us know more about the ECCD Council through this video.
Established as a mandate of Republic Act 10410 or the Early Years Act of 2013, the Early Childhood Care and Development Council supports the government's integrated and sustainable programs for children ages 0 to 4 years. The ECCD Council is working with the member agencies of its governing board, the Department of Education, or DepEd, Department of Social Welfare and Development, Department of Health, National Nutrition Council, and the Union of Local Authorities of the Philippines, and a private individual ECCD partner, in order to achieve its ultimate goal of a fully functional national ECCD system, guided by their vision. It is the ECCD Council's mission to contribute to nation building by ensuring that all Filipino children aged 0 to 4 are provided with developmentally appropriate experiences to address their holistic needs. The centerpiece of ECCD Council's efforts is the National Child Development Center, a child-friendly facility that serves as the children's first school, serving the communities where they are located. The NCDC offers programs for children and their parents. It also functions as a convergence point for community efforts concerning child development to make education programs truly effective. The ECCD Council has developed a systematized framework and curriculum for early learning and development. Outlined in the curriculum's learning resource packages are the different programs and activities that strengthen and nurture the different domains of development of the child. Implementing these are the ECCD service providers who have gone through the ECCD Council's Human Resource Development programs, designed to train service providers with the suitable knowledge, skills, and values that are necessary in early childhood education. The programs also keep them updated on the latest policies, global trends, and innovations in early childhood care and development. The ECCD Council also continues to advocate for early childhood care and development with advocacy and social mobilization activities that generate awareness, interest, and understanding for the importance of nurturing young children through developmentally appropriate experiences. The Early Childhood Care and Development Council is the country's partner for our children's brighter future. It takes a village to raise a child, and when everyone is involved in their care and development, possibilities can become realities, and the child's full potential can be fulfilled.
Thank you so much, ECCD Council, for providing this video to us, explaining how the institution helps in providing health, nutrition, education, and social services for our young children. Okay, so do we have someone in our viewers who are working in the Child Development Center? So share your thoughts in our comments section and let us know about your experiences. Let us know about the challenges that you experience working for the ECCD sector. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching the video. We have more coming for you, so don't leave just yet. Now that we have learned about the ECCD Council, let us get to know some of their programs for children ages 0 to 4. First, let's see the Infant and Toddler Early Development Program for children ages 0 to 4 years old. Let's wait for the video to show.
Numerous researches show how important it is for children to be exposed to proper holistic development. Child development starts as early as infancy, and their early experiences have a great effect on their future physical, emotional, and social development. Optimizing the childhood years is the best investment we can make for their future and the future of this country. This is easy enough if you can afford to pay for your child's educational and developmental needs. But what if you can't? This is the problem facing thousands and thousands of families across the Philippines. Fortunately, there is a solution. The Philippine government recognized the need for early childhood care as early as the 70s, when Presidential Decree 1567 required every barangay to have a daycare center. In the year 2000, Republic Act 8980 established a National Child Care Development System. And in 2013, Republic Act 10410 placed the responsibility of the care of children from the ages 0 to 4 years old on the Early Childhood Care and Development Council. The Early Childhood Care and Development Council is the primary agency that supports the government's sustainable and integrated early childhood care and development programs such as health, nutrition, early education, and social services.
The ECCD Council is supported by the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation in funding the establishment of the National Child Development Centers, or NCDCs, and the conversion of existing daycare centers into child development centers located in areas surrounding NCDCs.
As a counterpart responsibility of the LGUs, they will provide a 250 square meter lot, perimeter fence, playground facilities, and a child development teacher to be trained by the ECCD Council. The National Child Development Center is a flagship project that supports the various programs of the Council. The NCDC is a national learning center that showcases the best practices of the integrated ECCD services. It is also a laboratory for conducting research and innovations about ECCD. Likewise, it is a resource center for the community to enhance the parenting skills and capabilities. Cities and municipalities that are willing to participate and have the ECCD program as a priority in their community.
The National Child Development Center, or the NCDC, is the flagship program of the ECCD Council. The NCDC is a child-friendly facility that serves as the first school of children in the barangay level, and its main goal is to provide and expand access to quality early childhood care and development.
The importance of early childhood care and development is its impact on brain development, on economic gains, and on school readiness, on health and nutrition, and advocating for child's rights at an early age. The ECCD Council has a three-pronged approach in implementing the National Early Childhood Care and Development, which includes access, quality, sustainability, and efficiency. The challenges that we are facing in ECCD are the following. One is the systematic professionalization of early childhood development personnel. Number two, continuous rollout of policies and guidelines. Number three, investing on ECCD programs on the ground through advocacy and mobilization, and the legislation and implementing mechanism for ECCD programs. The future directions of the ECCD councils include the following. One is the continuous cooperation with the duty bearers, who are the families, the barangays, the local government officials, the national and international communities. And second, the operationalization of ECCD roadmaps in the national and international levels.
It's easy to see how important early childhood care and development is for the future of the Filipino children. With your help and support, together, we can make this dream into a reality.
The first few years of a child's life are the most crucial for their growth and development. It is the time when the foundations for learning and behaviors are laid, and when the growth and development of the brain and body are at their prime. Infants and toddlers' brains are twice as active as adults, so to make the most out of this period, we need to stimulate them with and expose them to developmentally appropriate experiences. The Infant-Toddler Early Development Program, or ITED, is designed to nurture and challenge infants and toddlers for their optimum growth and development. Held in a safe and nurturing space, ITED brings together parents and teachers as partners responsible for the development of their children. Teachers provide infants and toddlers with a secure base for exploration, learning, and discovery through developmentally appropriate experiences. While parents, who know their children best and are primarily responsible for their growth and development, reinforce the experiences they have learned. This partnership is guided by the overarching principles of ITED. With family at the core and grounded on strong relationships with family and responsible adults, ITED seeks to create positive emotional experiences in the child's early learning and development, and encourages responsiveness to a child's initiative to explore as these foster learning. Individualized and intentional teaching and care not only benefits the child, but also enriches their early learning experiences. Before parents and their children can participate in an ITED program, parents have to attend an orientation where they learn the importance of brain development, the principles of the ITED program, and the schedule of classes. Parents must understand why they are part of the program and the role they play in ensuring their child's success. The child's progress is regularly assessed using the ECCD checklist Child's Record 1. Results from the assessment are used in planning the program's succeeding activities, which are shared with the parents during the weekly meetings. Teachers show how the activities should be carried out, while also evaluating the parents' response to these and to the ITED program as a whole. Every day, ITED classes are held at the center. The 1-hour daily sessions are attended by a maximum of 5 infants or toddlers and their parents, and each day there are different sets of attendees. Today we have the first batch attending the Monday session. When they arrive, the teacher greets and welcomes them to the class. The class begins and everyone sings a song together. Attendance is checked and parents introduce themselves and their children. The teacher asks what activities were done at home during the past week. Parents talk about their experiences and their child's progress. After hearing everyone's experiences from the past week, the teacher tells them what they're going to do for the day's session. Activities per session will vary depending on the needs of the participants and the themes of the current quarter. Every session's highlight is activity time. The teacher uses this routine to coach parents in doing specifically designed activities with their children. Parents are then asked to try the activity out, and the teacher gives feedback so that parents are able to do the activity comfortably at home. Look at the parents and children having fun with each other. Now that activity time is done, the infants and toddlers are given time to rest and be quiet. Calm music is played while the children are resting. Parents and the teacher meet to share their insights and learnings and what else they can do to improve and apply the activity at home. The teacher also gives activities that can be done at home to enrich the experiences gained from the session. At the end of the hour, the parents and the children pack up their things, singing a song as they go along. The teacher says goodbye to the parents and the infants and toddlers. Parents and their children will return next week for the next activity and meeting with the teacher. It might just be a 1-hour session per week, but the benefits of the ITED program can be long-lasting, especially during a period where infants and toddlers grow at a rapid rate. Parents become more attentive to their needs and more aware of what they can do to address these needs, all of which have an impact on their growth and development. This is the Infant Toddler Early Development Program, brought to you by the Early Childhood Care and Development Council.
Thank you so much, ECCD Council of the Philippines. Now let's hop off from the Philippines and jump into Indonesia and see how they do their ECCD programs. This next video is brought to us by our partner, SEAMEO INNOTECH, showing their ECCD programs for Indonesia.
Apel ada jeruk. Apel.
Dalam BKBB, penanaman budi pekerti menjadi hal yang sangat penting sekali. Karena dengan berbudi pekerti yang baik, akan bisa menjadikan anak-anak menjadi manusia yang sebaik-baiknya kelak kemudian nanti. Tapi budi pekerti yang baik itu tidak hanya bisa diajarkan, tapi juga harus dialami oleh anak-anak. Sehingga bisa menjadi budaya di lingkungan sekolah tersebut. Anak-anak yang sedang tumbuh dan berkembang saat ini membutuhkan pengalaman langsung bagaimana harus berinteraksi dengan orang lain, bagaimana harus membangun hubungan yang baik dengan orang lain untuk dirinya ini dan juga nanti. Dan budi pekerti yang baik akan menjadikan modal bagi anak untuk bisa menjadi manusia yang sebaik-baiknya kelak kemudian hari. Dalam prakteknya, BKBB lebih menekankan pada kegiatan kelompok. Karena saya yakin dalam kelompok bisa membangun hubungan yang lebih positif, lebih akrab. Anak juga bisa belajar untuk berinteraksi, bekerja sama, juga bernegosiasi. Dan dalam kelompok tidak menutup kemungkinan munculnya konflik pada anak-anak. Tapi itulah justru proses belajar yang harus dilalui oleh anak. Anak akan belajar mencari solusi, mencari alternatif permasalahan yang dihadapi, dan itu adalah keterampilan mereka untuk bisa bertahan hidup di kelak kemudian.
Mak Esa, boleh aku kakak Pawasan berdiri nanti bergiliran dulu ya. Terima kasih kakak Pawas. Boleh cari yang lain.
Siapa yang tidak butuh bermain? Apalagi anak-anak. Saya yakin mereka memiliki hak untuk bermain dan membutuhkan untuk bermain. Karena memang bermain adalah dunianya anak-anak. Satu hal yang penting dalam bermain adalah bahwa ketika anak-anak bermain, mereka sebenarnya sedang membangun dirinya sendiri.
Apa kamu jawab? Balik ya. Mulai ya. Satu. Orang. Dua. Leo. Bekasa. Aku juga. Mulai lagi, 1, 2, 3. Olay ya
Namun tidak hanya fokus pada kondisi keamanan saja yang harus kita perhatikan pada saat anak-anak bermain. Kami sebagai tenaga pendidik juga harus memastikan bahwa anak-anak bermain pada waktu yang tepat. Nah, asumsi saya adalah bahwa ketika anak-anak datang ke sekolah mereka membawa energi yang banyak. Sehingga energi ini harus dikeluarkan di waktu pagi hari. Bukan hanya soal energi sebenarnya, tapi ketika mereka beraktivitas di pagi hari, itu juga membantu perkembangan fisik dan motoriknya. Karena ketika anak bermain, mereka bergerak secara aktif. Dan aktivitas yang dipenuhi oleh anak ketika bermain di pagi hari ini akan membantu mereka untuk lebih berkonsentrasi, duduk, dan bersikap tenang selanjutnya. Perjuangan tidak semudah membalikan telapak tangan. Mengubah paradigma bermain sebagai kegiatan yang tidak lepas dari kegiatan anak dalam satu hari di sekolah adalah hal yang tidak mudah. Meyakinkan orang tua dan guru juga bukan hal yang mudah. Orang tua seringkali beranggapan bahwa anak-anak ketika datang ke sekolah, mereka untuk belajar, bukan untuk bermain. Dan juga tidak sedikit guru yang berorientasi pada kegiatan akademik, karena itu memang sangat mudah untuk diukur. Sehingga ini tantangan terberat saya, meyakinkan sekolah dan juga guru untuk mencoba model BKBB ini. Karena BKBB ini mengubah hampir keseluruhan prosedur belajar yang dilakukan oleh anak-anak dalam satu hari.
Berbicara santun. Ini ada fotonya. Nih, ada gambarnya. Berbicara santun berarti kita tidak apa ya? Sedang apa ini yang di fotonya? Yang di fotonya lagi apa? Berarti yang berbicara santun itu teman-teman tidak berkenan. Ini bukan berbicara santun. Kalau berbicara santun, panggilnya gimana, Akram? Angkat jika mau berbicara. Oke, sip. Boleh sekarang duduknya sudah duduk semua di belakang kopi.
Nanti aku bagi makanannya ya. Iya. Terima kasih Alma. Sama-sama. Nanti aku juga berbagi makanan buat kamu, Mika. Aku juga, Mika. Iya.
Karena menurut saya, mendidik adalah memberi suri tauladan yang baik. Mendidik dengan ketulusan hati agar anak-anak tetap berseri. Mendidik untuk menjadi pribadi yang berbudi pekerti, mendidik saat ini dan nanti untuk kebaikan negeri.
Aku mau kenalan dengan cara yang baik. Aku tidak suka dipukul. Tapi aku tidak suka dipukul.
Bang Rio.
All right. Thank you so much, ECCD from Indonesia and SEAMEO CSEP. Welcome back, everyone, to our webinar. So we are now seeing our participants in the plenary. Thank you so much for participating in our breakout groups. And for our Facebook and YouTube live viewers, we hope that you enjoyed the videos that we showed to you. And we hope that you learned a lot from them as well. These videos were provided by SEAMEO CSEP, our partners, SEAMEO CSEP, and the ECCD Council of the Philippines. Okay, you can access more related resources through their websites, and we will also be sharing these videos in the and other related materials in the online kit that we will provide for our participants. The link to this kit will be emailed to our participants a few days after this webinar, and it will also be available through our website. So keep in touch with us and for updates regarding this online kit, and hoping that you will access them when they become available. So aren't you curious about what happened in today's breakout sessions? So let's hear the highlights of the parallel sessions from our facilitators. But due to our limited time, we will only give 5 minutes for each group to share. So again, the question that we will try to answer this for this webinar is how can we ensure an inclusive, joyful, and meaningful learning experience for our young learners? Let's hear first from the facilitator of the group that discussed about an innovation in teaching early grade learners. So for 5 minutes, please, if you can, please sum up everything that we have, everything that you have discussed in your breakout session. Can the facilitator of the first group raise their hand so we can ask? Okay, Dr. Romano.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello
So
po.
yes, good afternoon, everyone. So
Can you wait a moment so we can yeah, there we go. Okay, Doctor, Mr. Roman, please.
yes, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, through the utilization of the digital app in mathematics using IBTL, we can ensure an inclusive, joyful, and meaningful learning experiences for our young learners. Why? Because the digital app in mathematics we initiate and created, and mostly we are using it for almost 3 years in the public schools, specifically in Melencio Castell Elementary School and now in Peñahan Elementary School. It is DAP appropriate. How? Because it is age appropriate. It is intended for 5 years old, which is our kindergarten students, and it is also language appropriate. We are in the digital app in mathematics. We use the mother tongue or the dominant language or dialect used by the students here in Quezon City, which is Tagalog, and then at the same time, it is jibe or suited to the interest of the students. So this digital app in mathematics is a play-based app wherein students are giving opportunity to answer the activities in the digital app, wherein they can get immediate feedback whether they answer the activities correctly or not, wherein they enjoy the activity while playing. At the same time, this app is offline, which means we can access the app, or kids can enrich their mathematics skills or competencies at the comfort of their home. It doesn't require internet connection. And then at the same time, this digital app mathematics help to ease the burden of parents and teachers during the pandemic. Why? Because most of the parents of our students here in Quezon City are working parents, means they have less time to supervise or assist their kids at home. So this digital app and mathematics address one of the issues we encountered during the pandemic, and at the same time, this digital app and mathematics help them to have the activities at home, anytime and anywhere, at the same time with the use of IBTL approach. This is a very good approach wherein we include this during the 5E activities, which we have for the IBTL, we have engagement activities. We have also exploration, explanation, elaboration, and during the evaluation stage, we include also real objects to facilitate realistic experience among our students, and also hands-on experiences that they can feel that they are really involved in the learning process. And at the same time, using IBTL, learning becomes more joyful. It also ensure inclusive and provide meaningful learning experiences among our kids. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Roman. And now we have Ms. Jenny Mercado from the Muntinlupa ECED.
Yes, hi.
Hello, po.
Yeah. So how can we ensure that there's an inclusive and joyful and meaningful learning experience for our young learners? So here in Muntinlupa, as I have mentioned earlier in our breakout room, we make sure that there is an inclusive and joyful and meaningful learning experience. If we can provide variety of activities that answers or that ensures that this is in the interest of every children, making sure also that the activities and everything that we have given the children are based on what they really need. It's developmentally appropriate. We ensure that there's always play in every activity because they are more cooperative and they are more joyful during play. We also make sure that those teachers handling them are in good condition in all times, to make sure that they are them or the teachers that handles them really can give the best that they can give to these children, because as we all know, the teachers are the most important entity inside the classroom. They are the ones thinking of different strategies, different programs and activities for the children. So let us be more we should be investing on the different things or the different materials that we should be providing for the children, making sure that they are safe, and that they are these materials or these activities are the ones that really will best fit for the interests of every children. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jenny. Now we have Dr. Ear. One moment. Dr. Ear Dewey Hastuti from IPB University. Dr. Ear?
Oh,
There we
my
go.
name is I'm Ibu Tuti. I think it is for I speak from the perspective of parents. Yeah, I think parents have some challenge during the pandemic and for the next era. But however, it is important for parents to collaborate with teacher in serving the early child education for young learners. Yeah, because the situation for today is the children also have to be adjusted with the technology, yeah, the young children, the young learner. But at the same time, they also having limitation, yeah, due to the economic of the parents or the family, and also the limited access to the internet and technology in the remote area of our people in Indonesia, because we have 13,000 island in Indonesia, and some of them are placed in the remote and marginalized area. So I think it is important for the learning process, yeah, for the next period is to strengthen the roles of parents, and how they could collaborate and also communicate with teachers when they are facing problems regarding the learning process and also the technology use and media use with the teachers. Communicated openly with the teacher will help assist parents to also solve the emotional and problems behavior occur during the pandemic and also during and also when we are facing the next era. As maybe you already know, Indonesia has many villages and also many islands. So that's why our teacher has to be also adapting to the standard and to the economic situation of the parents who are also having some difficulties regarding these pandemic situations. And the role of government, I think, is have to be strengthened also. Maybe not only the Ministry of National Education, but also the local government to also giving facilities for the children and young learner to the school, to school, to access to the internet and also the other technology, maybe computer or other media for learning. Some of our local government also give subsidy to the school who are in the limited what we call this limited access and facilities, and they give also donation and also encourage donation with the community from outside the local area. I think the key for the how we could ensure continuity of learning in ECCD is being collaborate with teacher, with parents, and also with the community, and also with the local government. So that's I think the roles of all the what they call this the structural, the formal and non-formal also organization to also help assist the young learner who are on the limited access to the technology. I think that's my suggestion, Mr. Genesis. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Hastuti. And thank you so much to our facilitators for giving us a quick overview of what transpired in the sessions, in the breakout sessions. But we would also like to ask our participants and of course our live viewers to answer the questions that you have discussed. How can we ensure an inclusive, joyful, and meaningful learning experience for our young learners? So we hope that you can share your ideas, your thoughts, your answers, or maybe your comments in the chat and in the comments section of your respective live broadcast. So whether that's YouTube or Facebook, I hope that you can share your thoughts with us. Okay, now to cap off our webinar, indeed, this is a day of many learnings and very fruitful discussions. And now may we call on Dr. Teresita Inchong, Vice Chairperson and Executive Director of the ECCD Council Philippines, to share her synthesis of the whole event. Dr. Inchong, the virtual floor is now yours.
Thank you, Genesis. In addition to your... okay.
Yes, Dr. Inchong, we can hear you clearly.
Okay. So, good afternoon, and I would like to congratulate the CSEP and the INTECH for initiating this webinar. This is very timely because we are trying to improve the quality of education. And we are aware that the ECCD is the transition, the foundation of all learnings. So may I start by quoting actually, which will answer one of the questions. That the best way to reduce deficit is to invest in quality early childhood development for disadvantaged children. It creates better education, health, social and economic outcomes, and increase revenue and reduce the need for costly social spending. What we are saying here, the children are not the investment. The investment are the resources that are inputted by the government so that we will live a quality, accessible, and sustainable program for our children. In the Philippines, we have the Public Act 1040. As a matter of policy, it recognizes the age from 0 to 8 as the first crucial stage of educational development and is strengthening the early childhood care and development system and appropriating funds, therefore, for other purposes. In its declaration of policy, it is hereby declared that the policy of the state is to promote the rights of children to survival, development, and special protection with full recognition of the nature of childhood as well as the need to provide developmentally appropriate experiences to address their needs and to support parents in their roles as primary caregivers and as first teachers. Our 1987 Constitution, it is very clear that the state shall protect and promote the right of all citizens to quality education at all levels and shall take appropriate steps to make such education accessible to all. So in our webinar, ensuring continuity of learning in ECCD amidst varying contexts and pandemic, this is our takeaway. The importance of ECCD. Early childhood development is one of the central components of global and national development as it is a part of the Sustainable Development Goals. Specifically, in goal number 4.2, it states that ensure that all girls and boys have access to quality early childhood development, care, and pre-primary education so that they're ready for primary education. And number 4.A, build and upgrade education facilities that are child disability and gender sensitive and provide safe, nonviolent, inclusive, and effective learning environments for all. Being able to understand inclusive ECCD in a wider perspective will help address a more equitable response to quality ECCD. Promoting strong engagement, children, activities both at home and school will help strengthen their development in different domains by better understanding concepts and context through exploration, collaboration, and coordination, which permeates in all the speakers that we have. Similarly, family and parents' involvement, even the community, will help increase the children's interest in learning and development, positive behavior, openness, and confidence. And finally, let me quote Gabriela Mistral, a Nobel Prize winner in education. And he says, we're guilty of many things and many faults, but our worst crime is abandoning the children, neglecting the fountain of life. Many things we need can wait. Your car can wait. The child cannot. Right now is the time. His bones are being formed, his blood is being made, and his senses are being developed. To him, we cannot answer tomorrow. His name is today, which is why today we have a series of this webinar, which I hope most of our viewers will have a takeaway. So thank you very much and have a blessed night.
Thank you so much, Dr. In Shong, for synthesizing the whole program. And indeed, the people is not the investment to the state, but rather it is the state investing in its people. And the best way, I suppose, to do that is to really provide a good program and a better future to our young learners by establishing and strengthening our inclusive ECCDs. Thank you so much again, Dr. In Shong, for that synthesis. Now, to formally close our session, we would like to call Dr. Elis Rosdiawati, Acting Director of SEAMEO CSEP, to give the closing message.
All right. Thank you very much. Can everybody hear my voice quite clearly?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon to all of us. The Honorable Director of ECE, Primary and Secondary Education, Minister of Education, Culture, Research and Technology of Republic of Indonesia, Dr. Muhammad Hasbi, Director of SEAMEO INNOTECH, Philippines, Dr. Ramon C. Bakhani, and also the Board of Director of SEAMEO INNOTECH and SEAMEO CSEP, distinguished speaker from SEAMEO INNOTECH and SEAMEO CSEP, distinguished organizing committee from both sides, and then also from ECCD Council and from IPB University and all the webinar participants. Greetings from Indonesia. It is my great pleasure to address you in the closing remark ceremony of the webinar held as an inter-center collaboration between SEAMEO CSEP Indonesia and SEAMEO INNOTECH Philippines. I believe that all of you have spent your valuable time to join this webinar. It is indeed an effort to provide a strong base for lifelong learning as an essential building block of a good future for our children. And I also believe that we have been spoiled by a lot of precious information on ECCD provided by our inspiring research person in this webinar. So ladies and gentlemen, early childhood has been seen as a very fundamental stage in the future of a nation. Therefore, the quality of development of ECCD should be well prepared to form a better nation in the future. In this very occasion, it is my honor to, on behalf of the Director of SEAMEO Regional Center for Early Childhood Care Education and Parenting, to express my deep appreciation to the Director of SEAMEO INNOTECH for a very enjoyable collaboration with us. And then my special thanks also goes to distinguished speaker, Dr. Samuel Almonte Acosta, and Senior Specialist Education Research from SEAMEO INNOTECH, and also Ms. Lauren Nerise Bautista, Specialist Education Innovation Unit from SEAMEO INNOTECH, and also our beloved Deputy Director for Program, Mr. Id Putih, and also Dr. Dwi Hastuti MSc, the SEAMEO CSEP expert from IPB University, and Dr. Joanna B. Romano, the Southeast Asian Education Innovation Award winner, and also the ECCD Council. And also, I would like to acknowledge all of the ECCD teacher of the Philippines, as the participants who has actively participate in this webinar. So, ladies and gentlemen, I highly expect that everyone could benefit much from this webinar and also able to implement the insight and knowledge that you gain from for the sake of the improvement of the quality of early childhood care education, especially in Philippines and Indonesia. I think that what I can say here, and I declare now that the webinar on ensuring continuity of the learning in ECCD at this very context and the pandemic is officially closed. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rosdiawati. And thank you so much, of course, SEAMEO INNOTECH. We look forward to more partnerships with you in the future, and we are excited to see the future that is promised, or the promising future that ECCD offers to us all, especially to our young learners. Okay, this concludes our webinar for today, for this afternoon, for this rainy afternoon here in the Philippines. Thank you very much, everyone, and for joining us in this online event. If you wish to receive a certificate, please answer our end of program evaluation form through the link that we will show posted. We have been pasting it in the chat box for the Zoom participants. And if you would like to use your QR, we have also displayed the QR codes here on our Zoom. So there. Certificates along with the link to the online participants kit will be sent within 2 weeks to those who have submitted an evaluation form. So you are required to answer the evaluation form if you wish to receive the online kit and the certificate. Please note that we will be closing the evaluation form today, May 17 at 11 p.m. Manila time. So that's 10 p.m. for our Indonesian friends. The webinar presentations will be made available on our website at www.seameo-innotech.org within a week's time. So this webinar will also be available on our Facebook page and YouTube channel a few minutes after this live broadcast ends. Please follow our social media accounts at SEAMEO INNOTECH on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for further updates. So while you answer our end of program evaluation, here are some announcements from SEAMEO INNOTECH. So please pardon me as I will only read these. We have first, of course, the Southeast Asia Teachers Competency Framework, Course 1. This is an online professional development course for in-service teachers worth 60 training hours spread over the course of 2 months. This program was designed and developed to address the challenges and context of the pandemic. The program is anchored on the Southeast Asia Teachers Competency Framework, which is a set of essential competencies that teachers in the region must develop. And these are: know and understand what I teach, help my students learn, engage my community, become a better teacher every day. And at the heart of the framework is the joyful learner. Second, we have for the school heads, the managerial leadership for school heads, Course 1, Managing Teacher Performance in Challenging Times. So Managerial Leadership Course 1 is an online course based on the competency framework for Southeast Asian school heads. It is the first course under the Managerial Leadership Program, and it aims to help school heads manage, support, and develop teachers, and through a balance between a systematic performance management process and a more emphatic and human-centered approach. Okay, the pilot implementation of these programs are finished, and they are now being processed by NAEP for accreditation and will be publicly offered. So watch out for these programs, and hopefully we can catch you there in our courses. So before we end this program, and before we cut our broadcast, may we ask our Zoom participants to turn on their camera for a quick group photo. So we still have 199 participants with us. So this will take some time. We hope that you can turn on your cameras and show your pretty faces, so we will know the investors and the foundations of our ECCD program in the coming years. We are now in gallery view. Hoping that you can see yourselves. Okay, are we ready to take the photo, Puga? Okay, we're ready. Let's wait for 10 more seconds for those who are still coming in, turning on their cameras, because the view will move. Okay. Now hold your smiles. This will take long, so please hold your smiles. And 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, next page. And let's wait. Please hold your smile. If you have seen yourself and you're done, you can rest your smiling face now. One more page. Okay. And yes, I think the rest are photos na lang and names. So that's it for our picture taking. Thank you so much for gracing us with your smiles and with your very amiable looks. Thank you everyone for this. And we would like to thank all our participants here in Zoom as well as our viewers on Facebook and YouTube. We hope that you learned a lot of valuable lessons and
recording stopped.
Inclusive early childhood care and development through this half-day webinar. Let us all work together for an inclusive, joyful, and meaningful early childhood learning experience for our young learners. This has been your host, Genesis from SEAMEO INNOTECH. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next webinar.
INNOTECH, we have come with hope so bright. The billion learners' voices ring, they all thrive in the love of life that lifelong learning brings. Through the decades with falling on the way, we lead the change, we serve and grow. Ever the Southeast Asian way, a future